Hey bitches, it's me, Levi, and I've decided um, to take part in the VR tag hashtag Forever Decks. And this is about decks that you'll have to pry from my cold, dead hands. Now, there was a lot to choose from, so you guys know me, I'm fickle as hell, and maybe this list will change in a couple of months. Who knows? Who cares? Um, but it's fun, and Larkin Legend, Logan did this tag, and it's a pretty free flowing tag, so I found this crate again. Spoiler alert, you can already see some of the decks that are in there, but who really cares? This crate is special because when I was still like a tarot baby who discovered that there was more than just the RWS, I got this little crate, and my complete collection could fit into it, and I may even be able to show it to y'all without being too... So it's a very tiny, yeah, I can show it to you, right, without y'all getting motion sickness. So it was a very tiny crate, and I could fit all my tarot and oracle decks in there, and and that was a while ago. So yeah, so I just wanted to show that to you. Little did I know that a couple of years later I'd be having a massive mega collection. And what's really funny, a lot of the stuff that's in here, that's in my Forever Deck crate, is stuff that I've had, well, not a lot, but quite a lot, stuff that I've had since the beginning. So let's put this crate to the side. Well, actually it's only 2 decks that I had since the beginning and a third that I'd wanted since the beginning, but never had the funds for to purchase, and it was never available in the Netherlands. Because lately, we've been able to get lots of indie decks in the Netherlands. Didn't used to be the case. However, there was one shop that sold them. Unfortunately, she's kind of stopped a little bit because a shop with a bigger platform has kind of taken over the market, so it's no longer viable for her to offer the decks. But a little shop in Amsterdam called House of Formlab did sell some, and that's where I got my first indie decks, because it's 2 of them. And the first one is one that you'll have to pry from my cold dead hands, and people are gonna sigh, probably, because this deck is the Threads of Fate Shadow Oracle. I've shown it lots of times. I love this box, by the way, with the little peekaboo right here. I've shown this lots of times already on my channel. This is the first Shadow edition. They have since changed their font, and I love this edition. Because you know why it's so divided in the community whether or not they like this deck? Oh man, I feel like I'm going to have to dedicate a whole video to this subject, but in the community we have a mass market crowd that is not really aware of the indie realm. That's not necessarily the YouTube community, but I'm pretty sure that 70% of tarot readers that are like a little bit older, might not be on social media, have no idea that indie decks exist. Oh wow, this catches the light so stunningly, can you tell? So they don't really they don't belong to the argument, but and then you have sort of, but that is a big chunk of the community. And then you have, within the more indie focused community, I feel like there's 3 groups. There's this group that is very much about the aesthetics and sigilly, TikTok-y, gold foily, holographic foily decks. But they aren't necessarily always driven by the content of the set of cards rather than just the aesthetic. Then we have a group that is very much about RWS leading decks, tarot decks, or oracle decks that look kind of, I don't know, kind of cute, girly, modern. I'm not a part of that crowd either, necessarily. And then we have this group that is very anti this type deck, very anti the gold foil, and they are very much, into super weird, funky, abstract art. I'm thinking Dirt Gems Oracle. I'm thinking Santos and Signs Oracle. I'm thinking Mysteries of the Black Madonna Tarot. And you know what's really funny? Those decks are all very much content driven, look pretty unpolished and raw and artsy and cool. And I sort of fall in between all those categories. I'm not strictly this or strictly that. And you know what's really funny, guys? This deck has a lot of content. It's so well written. Something that looks gorgeous doesn't mean that it's necessarily immediately like superficial, because it's not superficial at all. This is a stunning, stunning deck that has lots of really good information in the guidebook. Almost every card is associated with a plant, with a gemstone, with some guidance, with, for example, this one, Soul Work. Look at how gorgeous that card looks, guys, and look at that edging. Oh, man. So, Soul Work, man, I've used this guidebook so much because you could use it out of the box, but so we get we get an animal, a plant, and a crystal, and a general guidance. So, there's a lot here, and I love all the different hues of pink and purple and blue and green, and I love the detail that went into this line work, and I don't know, I just love it. And it sometimes hurts a little bit to hear people say that this is too shallow for them when they literally have no idea. One downside to the Threads of Fate and their decks is that the decks are so expensive that you're not gonna purchase it just to try. So even, if those people were to be open to change their mind, they would probably never try it because this deck is really expensive. But I did manage to find this at that Dutch store. Ordered it, never regretted it. This deck, you'll have to pry from my cold, dead hands. What's really funny, though, is that, I'm not one, I have a pet peeve when it comes to people saying, yeah, I always buy 2 copies of a deck, one to keep and one to use, or stuff like that, or this is my backup copy, whatever, you do you. I don't do that shit. However, the Threads of Fate Oracle once had a first edition. It was in this box, and it looked way different, and they have never, ever reprinted it. And I had seen it on websites for exorbitant amounts of money. But then I found it on some Dutch website, and some girl was selling it for way cheap. And we're sort of getting this mixture of black line art, gold line art, and more picture-y, Photoshop-y, Daniel Noel-esque fantasies going on behind the scenes. So the focus in this deck is not just on the foil art, it's also very much on the photos that are behind the foil art. It's kind of funny. I think I know why we see some black line art here. I think they wanted to keep the cost down a little bit. This is not an aesthetic choice. This is a money choice. Let me tell you that. I know, because I've looked into having gold line art printed on cards, and it's expensive because for small bits they only have to use a little bit, but the bigger and more ornate your illustration becomes, the more expensive it becomes. However, I really do like this version too, and there are actually some cards in here that got changed for the second edition where I'm kind of like, that's kind of a shame. But like I said, I love it. So this is the only deck that I have to 2 editions of. Do I feel the need to collect all the other editions that are out there? No. So yeah, that was my Threads of Fate. That was my first indie Oracle deck that completely wowed me. You'd have to pry, especially the Shadow Edition, from my cold, dead hands. My second indie deck was the Luminous Void Tarot by Laura Zuspan. Stunning set. Oh, that box feels so good. When I got it, I loved it. However, I was a bit disappointed with the guidebook because it's a pamphlet. I was only used to certain types of mass market decks, so I kind of expected that all indie decks would have, you know, booklets around at least 80 to 120 pages. Not the case for this one. And I was still very much a beginner, so this deck intimidated the hell out of me. I got it mainly because of the shape in the backs. Once again, gold foil. Love that. I'm a total magpie. And I couldn't even read that well with this. This is probably one of my favorite High Priestess cards ever. I couldn't even read that well with this deck in the beginning because I was still so stuck to needing to have the exact Rider-Waite-Smith symbolism and the exact titles that I could barely read with this. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, it's very Rider-Waite-Smith. But I was still so dependent on having that imagery. And I'm actually really glad that I got this deck because this kind of, although it is very, looking at it now, it's very Rider-Waite-Smithian. But it did sort of pull me out of the necessity of needing to have, you know, the little rabbit here, or the black cat there, or the pomegranate here, you know? Like, you don't need all that shit to read tarot. And sometimes, frankly, when I see people doing deck reviews and mentioning the lack of symbolism in a deck, it kind of pisses me off because, you know, I am a Taurus and then a Gemini moon and Sagittarius rising. And I'm very driven by knowledge and intellect. And I sincerely think that if you really need all that, you need to know your cards. There needs to be a knowledge basis. So if you are, you know, if you've been reading for like 10 years and you still need to see a black cat in the Queen of Wands, otherwise you won't be able to know that it's the Queen of Wands, you know, you may need to read a couple extra books on tarot and study a bit more and get out of your comfort zone. I'm not saying you're wrong. If you like doing that, I mean, you're lucky because every publisher is supplying you with 20 decks just like that every year. But don't diss other decks if they don't have that exact imagery in it, you know? I've seen it go so far as to, this queen is facing the wrong direction, so this deck is completely unreadable to me. And I'm like, child, you've been having this channel for 10 years, talking about tarot for 10 years, and you still don't know what Queen of Wands means. You know, and before we get into the whole discussion of there is no such thing as a single card meaning blah, 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 you guys should understand, whoops, what I'm saying here. Anyways, and if you don't, maybe this is not the channel for you, but I like people who put in the work, and I fucking hate people that say shit like, I read intuitively and I just randomly pick some cards and just say whatever the fuck I feel. You know, you can do that without the cards. If you want to be an intuitive reader, you don't need cards. Back to the deck. It's stunning. This is a work of art. I feel like in 20 years' time, people will look back at this and this will be a highly sought after collectible piece. And this isn't even the first edition. This is the shuffle edition. First edition was like even bigger than this, and this is already huge. This is very artsy, very artistic. And this is from a point in time where I feel like, is there a date in this guidebook? I don't think there is. Oh yeah, copyright 2018. So that was a really good year in Indie Tarot where we had lots of creatives, just releasing really thoughtful, amazing decks. Always wondered why there's a huge wang above this Ace of Cups, but I'm not mad at it. It was a really good time. I haven't riffle shuffled this deck in a while. This is not on the most ideal rose petal cardstock because it's kind of rubbery. However, it shuffles just fine. Wow. An amazing deck. You could just put this on a table as a decorative piece. Just like that, and it could be an art piece. Like, pry it from my cold, dead hands, I tell you. Yeah, and this was the first indie deck I got, and it completely amazed me. So yeah, the Luminous Void Tarot. Stunning. Up next. This is fairly new, but I always wanted this. But I never bought it because I was so masculine in my masculine intuition readings that I refused to buy it, and I really needed to get my head pulled out from my ass. This is the Moon deck in the gorgeous handcrafted keepsake box with the gorgeous guidebook, and I don't know, it's Stunnalina. She's iconic, she's a legend, and she is the moment. I mean, come on now. Gorgeous illustrations, really good affirmations. This is not your Louise Hay on a dime, low budget affair. This is really good quality. It's stunning art. I kind of want to pull one for the day because I need it, because I'm still fucking bedridden from COVID. I'm ready, thank you. My favorite card in the deck. And yes, I am ready. I am ready. I'm ready to, like, not be sick all the time. Gorgeous, gorgeous deck. It's really well created. The presentation is insane. Once again, I believe this is from that same year, sort of that same wave of, this is also back from when you wouldn't have 20 new tarot Kickstarters launching every week. This was kind of the time where you get a couple a year and it'd be really special. This is from 2015, the second edition, 2017, yeah. So, like I said, same time, and you wouldn't have 20,000 Kickstarters every week. It was really, really special. Another deck from that same era, I fucking kid you not. The She-Wolf Tarot by Devaney Amber Wolf. I believe this is the first or the second edition, I don't know. Another stunning set. Unfortunately, not on my favorite cardstock ever, but it works and it's manageable. It's a little bit glossy, as you can see. This is very... I got this pretty recently, and this is definitely something that my beginner tarot ass definitely couldn't handle. Because this is there a little... Yeah, there's some dirt on that card there. I need to get that off. Because it's difficult to always see, the Rider-Waite-Smith meanings in here, and that's because it's more based on the Thoth, but even, you can tell by the card titles, but even when it comes to that, it's still pretty... If there were a tarot deck that you could read as a really intuitive tool, this would probably be one of them, because there's, lots to see, lots to think about. Whenever I use this deck, I don't do big spreads. I pull one, maybe two cards, and, I read the cards as is, but also I really try to, see if I can find some extra meaning in Devaney's wonderful collage artwork. Oh, that was a little fly that just flew by. I wonder why that's inside the house. Look at this. The Divine Masculine, also known as the Emperor, depicted with this glorious David Bowie pic. It's this Queen of Cups with this enormous big yoni energy. The reason why I wanted this, because you can still get this. This is widely available. The reason why I wanted this is because of one card. And obviously we can't seem to find it now. Oh, here it is. It's because of this card, because I think this is one of the most gorgeous depictions of the magician ever. As you can see, it's stunning. So, that was that. I have quite a lot of these. You guys are going to have to bear with me while I entertain myself. But yeah, once again, this is also from that glorious era of deck creation. This one I haven't used that much. The Lost Forest Arrow. This was a really expensive Kickstarter. Cost me a lot. Didn't know that I would be getting this really, really, really cheap Amazon thick cardboard box for that money. Really glad that she wanted to print everything eco-friendly, blah, 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 blah. If I would have known, I probably wouldn't have paid up to $90 for this deck. Even the cardstock is really basic, really bad. The art, and I feel like we should be honest about that. I see people talking about this deck as if it's the second coming of Christ, and when it comes to art, I mean, look at that. Yes, it might be. However, the shoddy production quality needs to be mentioned. Doesn't take away from the fact that I love this deck and I should use it more, and I would like this to be pride. I would not like this to be pride from my cold dead hands. Look at that Page of Earth. Look at him. He's so cute. So this is sort of a Miriorama style deck where all the miners' suits line up to become this big landscape, which you never really do. You don't really do that. But it is a really cool and special deck. It's quite thick, actually, to hold as a matter of fact, the cardstock doesn't feel that thick. Also, this should be smooth. The cutting was really rough. Like, this wasn't produced well. You know, and yeah, but yeah, it was like really printed really eco-friendly. Yay. This is not a very people-y deck, so this is definitely more of this is really a really cool card. This is definitely more of an atmospheric deck. I do really like Santa Monte. No, it wasn't Santa Montefiore. That's the writer, Chelsea Santa Maria. She created it. Really stunning. I love delving into her fantasy world, and this really needs to go back into the rotation. But fun fact, also because it was so expensive for me to get, the backs have spot gloss, which I couldn't care less about. Because this was so expensive for me to get, I sometimes am a bit scared to use it. But this is really stunning. Unfortunately, it looks like it's out of print, and I believe that you can still get a majors only version off of her Etsy, unfortunately. But yeah, love it. However, aren't all the decks in my collection here indie? Yeah. Because, you know, mass market decks, they are stunning, but you can usually, like, buy them pretty easily. Why am I already taking this deck out of its packaging? This is really special. Also needs to go back into the rotation more often. This is the Field Guide deck. This is such a stunning deck. I love it. By Lori Pollock and Juliana Bright. I wonder... Yeah, Lori's the author, and I follow her on Instagram, and we talk a lot. And Martin gifted me this deck. And I got it, and I have to be honest with you, it's on really huge cardstock. And I saw it, and I really like the art. It's very minimal, watercolory, naturey. But I was like, Martin, come on, this is cards with a thing, and then the name of the thing. What am I gonna do with it? Martin, you don't know, you know I don't like decks that are like that, right? Because I don't. I don't like going for decks that are like that. However, as you can see, it is stunning. Stunning little deck. Look at that Sage card. Stunning. So let's look up the little white book entry on that Sage card, because this has a teeny tiny book. But this deck is the proof that you don't need lots of pages of text to get the point across and to write a good guidebook. So let's go to Sage. Here we go. Neighbors of Sage, infuse it with assistance. Use the symphony of birds, bees, plants, and trees to help find a comfortable new order. The song of your next step is impossible to ignore. Tone-deaf old narratives don't stand a chance. Change has arrived, loud and clear. Grandma's bag of tricks, clean sweeping, a moving day. Hope, releasing, lightning, brightness, possibility. Gorgeous little pieces of poetry / prose, and even the keywords read like a poem. Oh man, like really special little deck to sit with and to maybe even journal with if that's your thing. You know, there's not a whole lot of extra info besides that, but I mean, come on. Look at this. I love a good raw looking deck. I just love it. I love it so much. You know, if you're gonna write a deck that's dependent on the guidebook, make it usable and make it like this. Stunning, stunning, stunning. Very clear concept behind it, you know. Oh man, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Pry it from my cold dead hands. You must. Another deck that I really like, the Mystic Midnight Oracle Celestial Ascension Edition by Maeve Marie. I'm still really proud of Maeve for doing this. Maeve wanted this deck to become a reality, and she didn't do a Kickstarter. She just had it printed. And obviously, and I'm pretty sure that Maeve won't get mad when I say this, because it is obvious and she does love those decks. This is very reminiscent of the Threads of Fate Oracle. So in this deck, we get a couple different suits. You can tell them apart by the different colors of Galaxy background. You get sort of a Major Arcana-esque type card. Then you get all the zodiac signs, but they're depicted as their constellations, which I love. You get the planets, and you get certain celestial bodies with keywords. And look at that. And I really like this. Once again, that sigilly, cool line art. Gorgeous, gorgeous gold foil printing. It's really stunning, guys. It's really well made. I love it. You can buy this for a really good price right now from her website. You can find her on Instagram as Mystic Midnight Oracle. Look at that. She did a really good job on these, and I am so in love with this deck. The way she wrote because this one is another, you know, a lot of these cards you can use as is, but if you're not too well versed on what the zodiac signs mean or what the planets mean, you kind of need the guidebook for that. And even if you are well versed, the guidebook offers really interesting insight. So she did a really good job, and it looks dope as hell. It just looks really cool. And once again, another one of those examples where you get an aesthetic deck that is very aesthetically pleasing and modern and witchy and cool. However, that has the guidebook to back it up. You know, that was written in a way that we can like stand behind it and say this is a really good deck, unlike some other decks. I'm really feeling like I kind of want to film a really hateful, spiteful video in regards to a lot of tarot decks that are doing the rounds on TikToks, especially among illiterate tarot readers. That feel like I need to expose the creators, because there is a lot of stealing going on too. There's this one deck that literally features the art from the Morgan Greer, the Wild Unknown. All of it is the Rider-Waite-Smith, and it's kind of mixed together. Some cards are kind of reminiscent of, you know, random sigilly sacred geometry shit, and it's just random meaningless art on a card with the tarot title underneath. And it's like the best-selling deck on Etsy, and I'm like, I see you guys. I see you. And I kind of want to expose them. But we're not doing that now. We're talking about decks you'll have to pry from my cold, dead hands. And this is another one. By the way, Martin from Martin in the City, did I already tell that, gifted me this? And he enabled me to get this. He was like, yeah, this is really dope deck. I thought you had it already. And then he got me the guidebook as well, which was really cute. It's in a cute little tuck box. It's on linen cardstock, and it's really cool, the Nomad Tarot. And this is very pippish, and it's very minimal, but I love it. I love when people ask me why I love reading with pips. Excuse me. It's very easy. Let me show you. Like I said, Taurus, Sun, Gemini, Moon, Sagittarius, Rising. I like clarity. And, whoops, I can't even riffle shuffle anymore. That's how sick I am, guys. Send help. Send help and soup. So, like I said, bitches, I like clarity. So, whenever I put a spread on the table, especially when it's a bigger spread. So, let me put this down so you can see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And this is very monochromatic too. So this will be a very handy deck for me to use in the practical sense of the word, because it's very easy to see for me which element we're seeing. It's very easy for me which cards are major arcana cards, thus resemble a bit more like intense meaning. It's very easy for me to see the numbers. It has a very clear font. It makes reading so much clearer for me, rather than, for example, people ask me why I hate Llewellyn decks so much. Llewellyn's Tarot of the Dragon is a really gorgeous, that new Dragon Tarot they did, is stunning artwork, but when every card looks like a major card, because that's how well designed it is, a lot of people would be like, oh, that's good, right? Yeah, it looks really pretty for Instagram. However, when it comes to practicality, and, you know, I don't necessarily do card by card readings always. Sometimes I do, I go card by card by card, but then I always like to zoom out. So I either start from a zoomed out perspective and I look at the whole tableau, and I'd be like looking, and I'm seeing a lot of air in this reading. So seems like there's a lot going on in your mind, only seeing a little bit of water here. Also 4 of water, very structured. And a little bit of fire, but mostly air. A little bit of water, a little bit of fire, a little bit of earth, but mostly air. So we're dealing with someone who's very much in their brain, you know? And we're seeing 2 majors, which is quite a lot for an 8-card spread. So that's kind of how I start, you know? And we're not even going into any individual card meanings yet. And that's why, especially for bigger spreads, I prefer working with a more minimal and pippish deck. So yeah, that's why. But I love the way these look, I really do. From a graphic design perspective, Oh, whoops. This is a really interesting deck. Also with these tie-dye backs. Which is really interesting, really cool. Hey, whoops. Look at that Justice card. Look at that. It's really interesting takes. And I love that the aces have like 20,000 of that element on there rather than just one. I think that's really cool. The Magician, like, wow. But yeah, this is a really easy deck for me to read. I really, really, really like it. I think it's really cool. Cardstock quality is amazing. I love looking at it. Also, the way the pips are placed on the card, how asymmetrical they are. Also in the quartz, the least, so for the quart of air, the least airy of that quart will be the smallest. The most airy of the quart will show the biggest feather. So there's a lot of really interesting stuff that happened here. The Judgment card is like one of my faves. It's amazing. It's a really good deck. And it wasn't that expensive for an indie deck. It was like really, really... Even the chuck box it's in, it's really, really well produced. The quality of the cards is amazing. I love this deck. Try prying this from my cold dead hands. You never will. Because all of these decks that I've shown you right here, right now, I believe they're all here to stay. The last one, the Sabbath Tarot, and I'm gonna show it in all its glory because, you know, if this video gets flagged, it gets flagged. Thank God I have an actual day job, and I don't rely on YouTube money. So this deck is my most expensive deck. Never have I spent more money on a deck than this. But it's because I thought it was so gorgeous, so classy. It's full of nudity, but it's really classy nudity. It's very body beautiful, which I like because I love looking at beautiful bodies. And it's just stunning. Does that mean that I think that these are the only types of bodies that are beautiful? No, but it's really well produced. This is the Moonchild Tarot, but corrupted and gay and dark. And I love that. I legitimately think this is such a great deck. Little downside to this whole ordeal. Because it was so expensive, I am, once again, a little bit afraid to use it. However, the quality of this set is so good that I easily could. I can easily corner riffle it. It's on rose petal cardstock, and this one's pretty sticky too. This is not the greatest. But, you know, everything about this set is really luxe. I have since learned that... I really need to focus on the shuffle. I have since learned that there is no deck in the world that should cost over $100. Never. It's highly unnecessary. If you guys knew what printing prices actually were, you would never back another Kickstarter ever again. And I'm saying, and this is a ballsy statement from someone who's, as of right now, on Kickstarter begging people for money. However, yeah, decks should never cost over $100. It's insane. But it shuffles really well. And look, there's even lots of chicks in here. The Lady of Blades. Look at that fierce bitch. Queen of Swords. Yes. I love this deck. You'd have to pry it. Look at the Lovers. From my cold dead hands. This is my favorite card in the deck, the Lady of Vessels. And this the Lord of Discs. Oh man, it's absolutely amazing. This one I don't really like, that Six of Cups with that little pygmy guy. No, but it's really stunning. I love it. I like it. And those are all my decks. Okay, we're still under 40 minutes, so bye.